Yo, yo, yo. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Wrestle Recap. My name is Michelle Tate,
I'm Justin Tate.
and we are the only brother-sister duo that takes you. Let me try that again. We're the only brother-sister duo that takes you on the journey of wrestling throughout the decades.
We've only done this 40 times now.
You threw me
And
off, man. You were like, let's have fun with it. Let's just start it off easy. And I got pressured.
well, speaking of brother, a new announcement this week from the minds of Eric Bischoff and one Hulk Hogan about a new wrestling company that they are apparently starting called Real American Freestyle Wrestling. Now, from what I understand, it's going to be like, amateur freestyle wrestling, but like professional wrestling too. And it's very confusing.
Yeah, what? Like, if it's amateur wrestling, like you can go to a show in West Texas and you can see plenty. You don't want to see amateur wrestling sometimes because
no, but I think they mean like collegiate style. That because this guy they're working with, Izzy Martinez. Izzy Martinez? I don't know if he is, but is he? He apparently has worked with all of these, collegiate amateur wrestlers, blah blah blah. And I don't know what the concept is yet, but I already my hopes aren't high.
No, like, is it supposed to be on TV or are they doing like a YouTube series? Like, what is that? And I don't know why I'm asking you.
I'm sure they're trying to get it on TV because that's like what Eric Bischoff has done pretty much since WCW closed is get shows on TV. So here's another one, I suppose.
It was kind of interesting because, it first kind of blew up because Eric and Hulk Hogan like made this video kind of cryptic. And then they said, we're getting a third member. And, you were like, oh, maybe they're doing a podcast with Sting. And I was like, I think it's going to be Kevin Nash. And then it was Izzy Martinez. And I was like, maybe more people know who he is, but I don't. I was just kind of expecting, like a big like WWE, WCW name,
Right. Well, one of the podcasts I listened to, I think this was released yesterday before the announcement came out, said, I swear to God, this is like some sort of an endorsement for boner pills. And the third man is your dong. Like some competitor to Blue Chew or something.
I've just got one question, Justin. Do you think Vince McMahon is involved or will he be involved?
I don't think he is right now. Who knows what he's going to do? He's 80 years old. He like redid the XFL and then sold it. And yeah.
Oh God. I just,
speaking of, last Sunday, my wife and I went to a UFL game, which is the merging of the XFL and the USFL. Let me tell you, I'm not a football guy. I don't know anything about football. And me being a football idiot sat there going, this is terrible football. We left at halftime.
Didn't you tell me they had like 7 penalty flags in like one quarter or something?
Oh my God.
Crazy?
Like every play had a flag. And when we left at halftime, the score was 12-0. And it was just because of 4 field goals. Like it was it was so boring. But anyway, that's tangential to wrestling. We have a pay-per-view to talk about.
Yes, Justin, we do. But first, we got to hop in that time machine.
Let's do it. Smells funny.
I kind of like the smell. It smells like when you go to Blockbuster and you'd get a video and you'd open it up and there was that plastic smell. That's what it smells like in 91.
Yeah. I actually saw on TikTok last night that was like the last time you did all these things. And one of them was at some point you rented a video from Blockbuster for the last time.
I hate those videos, man. They make me sad. Like they're just depressing.
Well, what do we got on tap today?
On tap? Sonic has Big Red on tap. But anyway.
No, gross. Go on.
Today we've got the WCW SuperBrawl, the very first one. And that was on May 19th, 1991. So the show was at the Bayfront Center in St. Petersburg, Florida. Kind of a random location for a paper. Like, can you imagine WWE today being like SummerSlam, St. Petersburg? Like, what? Kind of strange. But this venue, it opened in 1965 and it was demolished in 2004. I'm just so amazed at how many of these giant venues get demolished. Like, not even a renovation, they just get demolished.
Yeah, yeah, and it's weird. I was thinking about this when we were at that UFL game last week. That like it was in the Alamo Dome, which was originally built for the San Antonio Spurs, and then they stopped playing there and moved to what is now the Frostbank Center, and now they're trying to get another new arena. And it's like, man, it just all these arenas get built and they do get used, but they're still there. Use them.
I know, and it's not like the Alamo Dome is crappy or anything.
No.
That's weird. Well, there were about 6,000 people in the crowd for this show, and our commentators are Jim Ross and, again, Dusty Rhodes. I'm not hating it.
Baby.
Yeah, not hating it at all. But, brother, the number one song, number one song in the U.S. on this day, I'm just going to play it, and then I'll talk about it. Is Don't Wanna Cry by Mariah Carey. Now, I was like, oh, Mariah Carey, I'm going to know this song. But this song sounds like the same song that has been the song of the week for the past, 50 weeks. Am I wrong?
Yeah, there was definitely a motif of popular music back then, and I don't know this song. I just don't. And let's see. In 1991, I was probably listening to MC Hammer or New Kids on the Block, something like that.
Jock Jams.
Jock Jams, yes. And then there was Jock Rock as well. So,
that's a good one. I remember you had a cassette tape called the Gross Tape, and it was actually green. The cassette tape was green, and it was just okay, the first track was 2 minutes of fart noises, and then the second track was 2 minutes of someone throwing up, and it was just disgusting. And we would listen to it in the car, on road trips. Why did we were so weird, Justin?
Well, were
yeah.
I mean, look at the podcast we are doing.
Yeah, you're right. But before we go any further, Justin, we need some
Wrestle Stats.
Well, before we get to the Wrestle Stats, let's talk about the background of this show. This show was a follow-up to the WCW New Japan Super Show, which was a Japan-only pay-per-view that happened back in March, okay? Now, we're going to get into this later, but just sort of as a teaser for the end of the show, the main event for this pay-per-view was promoted differently in the United States than it was promoted in Japan. Yes. Kind of weird, but we'll explain it. Now, there was one dark match for the live crowd before the show where the Mighty Thor defeated Fidel Sierra, who we previously saw on Halloween Havoc 1989 as the Cuban Assassin. How about that?
That's him. Okay. I was like, we saw this dude. I don't remember him.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the wrestle stats here. The average age of wrestlers on this pay-per-view, 32 years old. The youngest being Dustin Rhodes at 22. The oldest being almost twice that age. Black Bart makes his return at the age of 43. Let's talk about what's going on with all of the wrestlers on this show. Out of the 28 wrestlers who have a match on this pay-per-view, 19 of them are still alive today for a percentage of 67.85%. And out of the 260 wrestlers we have watched on Wrestle Recap, 148 of them are still alive today for a percentage of 56.92%, which is down from last week. Dang it.
Yeah, I decided we're sticking with that one because YouTube doesn't like the copyright issues on old Sarah McLachlan. So we're going to stick with The Undertaker.
My wife completely found out that I was a huge Sarah McLachlan fan back in the day and won't leave me alone about it.
Why? She's wonderful.
I know.
Your wife also hasn't seen Drop Dead Fred. So there's an issue there.
Well, but as we talked about, her parents are together, so that's why.
Yes. Hey, listeners. Okay, we're doing an experiment. Have you seen Drop Dead Fred? And are your parents together, or did you have a single parent home? Please send me those answers, because this has been a foolproof experiment so far. Anyone I know that had both parents in the home growing up They did not see Drop Dead Fred, but us single parent kids, we thought it was hilarious. And then apparently, when you grow up and you show your spouse the movie, they think it's sad. And I thought it was hilarious.
Let's get into the show here. When you bring it up on your TV, on your computer, on your device that has a screen, we have an animated opening with the American and Japanese flags because of the main event, and a whole bunch of clips of different wrestlers, none of whom are Japanese. But it's set to like weird guitar music designed to like make you say, hey, this is totally radical, right?
Right. Yeah. And there was like a tracking issue like during the song. And it was like I thought it was an attempt at a remix, and it was just like, but it was just like a tracking issue. So we're good.
You were pushing the tracking button on your VCR when the picture was screwed up. And
yeah. And I never understood how that worked. Like, does it in my head? I thought like the film, the tape was like being squeezed a little tighter or looser. Like, how did tracking work?
I have no idea. No, maybe it didn't. It was like the door close button on an elevator, and it just made you feel better. I don't know.
But it did work.
We then go straight to a shot of the arena with the SuperBrawl logo on the screen. Gary Michael Capetta, our ring announcer, asks us to please rise for the singing of America the Beautiful by Nashville recording artist Brandy Brown. Now, I tried looking for this woman to see if she was actually famous. Zero luck. So I guess if you record yourself singing at home in Nashville, you're technically a Nashville recording artist. Brandy sings a cappella here, which might have been a mistake, a little pitchy dog. But then on the Peacock feed, the video glitches, and I instantly started looking for the Wyatt Six, just weird modern wrestling thing.
Oh, I know. I was like looking for symbolism or something, like little signs.
And it was nothing. It was RoboCop coming back. But pretty basic stage setup here with the tilted WCW logo that looks like it's sinking into the stage, which could be symbolic in some ways later on. But the entrance ramp is the same height as the ring, as it's been for a few pay-per-views now. JR and Dusty welcome us to ringside, and after talking about tonight's card, JR mentions that you can talk to Sting and Lex Luger right now on the wrestling hotline, 1-900-909-9900. And every time that Lex hangs up, he goes, oh! Ring announcer Gary Michael Capetta starts to intro the first match, but we hear, this is the first mistake of the night, we hear somebody say, hey, hey, hey. And at first, like, I thought Dusty's headset was still being played to the crowd, but then enters Diamond Dallas Page, who is wearing a headset mic. The sound crew turned it on too early, while DDP was apparently trying to wrangle his entourage back there.
So yeah, I heard that too, and I heard, hey, 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 and I was like, was that DDP? And why is he yelling at them? But dude, all that aside, headset mics were such a cool thing of the 90s. Like,
right?
Like, I mean, every single concert, they had the headset with the microphone, and like, Broadway show Rent, when it came out, they had the headset mic, so they were super cool and stuff. Like, why aren't, I mean, I guess because microphones are so much smaller and we don't need a giant headset, like, why isn't it a cool thing anymore? I don't get it.
I think we should bring it back. I think there was even like kids ones that were like, funky colors, so you could hook it up to your phone in your room or whatever. Like, it was, I don't know why they were so cool. Did you?
I had a purple one.
How funny.
I did.
That's funny. Well, DDP has a lady with him as he verbally blows the fabulous Freebirds. And now, get this, we're ready for an actual match starting off the night. It is a tag team match for the vacant WCW United States Tag Team Championship. The fabulous Freebirds with Big Daddy Dink versus the Young Pistols. Last saw all of these guys on Wrestle War 91, the last WCW pay-per-view. And let's just explain this real quick. The title is vacant because the Steiner brothers were already the United States Tag Champs when they beat the Freebirds for the World Tag Team Championship. So the so-called WCW Board of Directors, aka Dusty, declared the United States titles vacant so the Steiners could, quote, focus on defending the World Championships. So the Freebirds and the Young Pistols were already feuding, and they were put into this match.
Okay, well, right away, Michael Hayes he's dancing in the ring and like strutting. And what he's doing reminds me a lot of Dusty, who's like sitting on commentary. So like, if that were me, if I were Dusty, I'd be irritated. I'd be like, why are you taking my gimmick?
And it's so funny because we've talked about how Michael Hayes controls a crowd. They will do whatever he wants them to do. And he did something here where he was trying to get the crowd to clap along with him. And of course they just booed, and he looks around like, what is that about? And of course I give the Young Pistols a chance to get cheered. So he's just good. He is. But from the very start, the women are cheering for the Young Pistols and the men are cheering for the Freebirds, which is an interesting split. You don't see that very often.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's just because the Young Pistols are young and good looking. I'm surprised the men would cheer for the Freebirds, considering like their makeup in the past and stuff. But maybe now that they're back to kind of their rock persona, the dudes like it. I don't know.
Maybe so.
But Big Daddy Dink's eyes seem to have been pushed further into his head now. So like that's good because he used to have those bug eyes, you know, and it's like they're normal now. But that does not keep him from being ejected after he won't stop tripping people and interfering.
Yeah, he's all in there. Well, I guess, you know, he's wearing leather now, so that makes him feel tougher. That's what it's got to be.
Okay, got it.
Fortunately, after Brad Armstrong has to come out to even the odds, the referee does kick Big Daddy Dink from ringside. He didn't kick out Brad Armstrong. Brad seemed to like get involved and then run away.
Yeah. This match was a little strange. But anyway, I had this thought during the match. Not up close, not anything crazy, but I thought Jimmy Garvin kind of looks like Mick Foley, like the same hair. And then I realized, where has he been? We saw him once.
He's busy writing his book on how to be the nicest man in professional wrestling.
You said he's coming to San Antonio, his show. You've got to go. Oh, he's so
I want to. I probably will. Tracy Smothers here is wearing trunks that are half brown and half harvest gold. So like he looks like a kitchen appliance store from the 1970s. It was awful. It was like his pee-pee poo-poo trunks.
No, we need to get back to that because I love seeing like, I don't know, weird crock pots and stuff in those colors. I mean, I don't know who thought that was a great aesthetic, but hey, I'm down with it. But hey, man, the dark scorpion is back.
Why?
Only it's more like the dark like pigeon. Because some guy in this match comes out and he's got black feathers like on his arms and a mask. And he came out to help the Freebirds. And he honestly kind of looks like one of the flying monkeys from like Wizard of Oz. Like what the hell, right? But can we please just stop having wrestlers dress up as birds in this era? Or any era. Like,
well, yeah, like at WrestleMania when Lyra Valkyria came out with all those feathers and they were suddenly all over the ring. It was like, oh, she's not going to fly away, is she? This could be awkward.
Well, this bird, this black bird, his shirt did read Fantasia. So we at least know that he's an American Idol fan. But
oh my God. That's probably the last person I remember on American Idol. Like, tell me who won the past 5 seasons.
Oh God, I have no idea. I just know she won season 3. That's all I know because I think I stopped watching after about season 7.
Well, so Fantasia here, who interfered under a mask and this mysterious person. Do you know who it was?
I have no idea. I figured you'd tell me. Ole Anderson? I don't know.
Brad Armstrong.
What?
So he disappeared after helping out, put on the Fantasia stuff, and then ran back out. And as we'll see later on, Fantasia will become the 3rd member of the Fabulous Freebirds, but under a different name, which we'll probably talk about on the next show.
Is it still Brad Armstrong, like the person?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, cool. They just had to change the name. But the Fabulous Freebirds win the match and the vacant U.S. Tag Team Championships in 10 minutes and 9 seconds. How'd you feel overall about that one as an opener?
I thought it was weird. As soon as I saw the black pigeon, I was just like, what are we doing? Like, I don't know. I mean, the wrestling itself was fine. It didn't get me super hyped, but I was still positive moving forward. What did you think?
It's fine for an opening. At least it had a little bit of a story, something interest to it.
About a black pigeon that was like,
yes. That's what I want to see in my wrestling. Okay.
Named
Fantasia. I mean, they can't all be the gobbledygooker. All right.
They sure can't. They can't all be a scorpion. So,
well, on this show, there's not a ton of stuff between matches. You know, usually, especially when we watch WWF shows, there's interviews and all sorts of hullabaloo in between. not here. So they usually go to a shot of Jim Ross and Dusty Rhodes, who recap the last match and then mention the next match and move on, which is what happened here. So let's go to the next one.
Yes, let's do. So we've got a singles match with Dan Spivey versus Ricky Morton. So we saw these guys last at Wrestle War 91, of course. And Justin, you just told me recently that Rock and Roll Express, aka Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, still book indie dates to this day.
Yes.
And that is just crazy because Ricky is 68 years old here in 2025. And I'm not talking like a Sting level 60s. Like, no offense, Ricky. Like, he doesn't look like Sting wrestling in his 60s. He looks like it hurts.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And they even popped up on AEW a couple of weeks ago. And you hear about it all the time, these guys who just can't get it out of their blood, right?
Yeah.
Like, you hear about somebody like Rick Martel who's like, no, I'm done with that, and I'm gonna go have success doing something else. And he did. But some guys, it's just there forever.
Yeah. And I mean, he took some hard bumps on AEW Dynamite. Like, I was impressed, but I'm like, how does that not break you for like 2 weeks?
Yeah. Well, not only is Dan Spivey wearing leather chaps here, they have a pocket like cargo pants. So not only are they functional, they're also still ugly to wear with trunks. How about that?
Justin, do you have any cargo shorts currently that you wear?
I own 0 cargo shorts.
So I threw out all of Mark's many years ago. And to this day, he's still like, wish I had cargo shorts to have places to put things. And I'm like, you never put things in there when you wore them 15 years ago. Like, he gets so angry that there's like very few things. Mandals are not allowed in this house, and cargo shorts and carpenter jeans. Those aren't allowed either.
I think you have covered all parts of 90s fashion. So
basically, but mandals were never okay. Even if they were the Doc Martin heavy ass mandals, that was not okay. But this is a funny visual in this match, and I'm not sure if it's supposed to be, but Ricky is having to jump up to punch Dan Spivey over and over because he's literally like 1.5 feet taller than Ricky Morton. Yeah. So every time he jumps up and punches him, I just picture Mario jumping and punching one of the little blocks to get a coin. Like, that's all I can see.
Yeah. Except the hairbrush comes out for his mullet. So he just touches it real quick. But I'll tell you another funny visual is Dan Spivey's mullet. Oh. It's like sliding back on his head. And the long part is just like a few inches wide. It's like a mullet mohawk that's like scared. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It was like, you know how like a popular hairstyle comes out and like guys try to do it even though they don't have the right hair type for it. It was like that.
Yes.
Yes. Well, Spivey powerbombed Ricky to get the win. And I'm kind of nervous now when I see a skyscraper do a power bomb or anything, after last time. But Dan Spivey does win the match in just 3 minutes and 11 seconds. It was a pretty quick one, which a lot on this show are pretty quick, which I appreciate. But how did you like it? What did you think?
For some reason, I can't get with the whole Dan Spivey thing. Like, I know he's big. I know he's kind of scary looking, but I just kind of... I don't know. I don't really care. Yeah,
it's kind of, I think I brought it up a couple shows ago that I feel like he lived in Sid's shadow, and that's fully what it was to me. I was like, if this would have been a Sid Vicious match, I feel I would have been more invested. And I feel bad, because no talent likes to hear that about themselves even 30 years ago, but
Yeah.
Anyway, JR sends us to Tony Schiavone and oh God, Missy Hyatt, who are with a very special guest. And I'm like, who's this going to be? Is this going to be the Fonz or someone? But no, it's just the Z-Man. But
great.
Yeah. And also Missy's wearing a tuxedo, but it's with a red bow tie and jacket and all, but no shirt. Like, it's just a matching red bra. And I could see what she was going for, but it's a no from me.
She looked like a cocktail waitress in Reno.
Yes. Or what's that other town? Pahrump or whatever it's called. Pahrump. Well, Z-Man says that he tore his bicep, so he isn't participating, but that he wouldn't miss this for the world. And then they announce a winner of the latest sweepstakes, because we always have a sweepstakes. I can't tell if they said Susan Mooney or Moody.
I don't know. It sounded like Mooney to me.
I was like, is that Sean's sister? Are they cheating?
Fair.
Or maybe it's Sean in drag because he wanted to win the sweepstakes, but he was like, I gotta cover this up, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, her name was Susan, and we do have a lot of Susans, so maybe she was our Susan, Justin.
No, it wasn't me. I don't do sweepstakes.
I don't like winning money. Well, Tony asks Missy about her attempt at the locker room interview with the guys. And I'm like, really? We're going to go? Like, it wasn't even that cool. What? We're getting back to this. But obviously she had failed at that attempt. So they showed this awful segment all over again because they hate us or something. And Tony and Z-Man are laughing after the clip. And Missy goes off on a women can do anything rant, but it's hard to take her seriously with like her little high-pitched voice and the fact that she then asked Z-Man if he needed to take a shower with like flirty eyes. So she decides that she's going to go back and attempt the men's locker room interview tonight. Too bad Marla kind of already beat you to that last week, lady. But yeah. Whatever. To the next match.
Yeah, it's a singles match. Nikita Koloff returning from a long time off versus Tommy Rich. Of course, last saw Tommy Rich on Wrestle War, but we haven't seen Nikita Koloff in a match since Great American Bash 1988, almost 3 years before this. So let's get into it.
Yeah, so as a recap, or no, as a wrestle recap.
There it is.
At our last WCW show, Nikita attacked Lex Luger and stated his intention to go for his championship. And that's when they brought up the whole championship committee that totally exists. And they had said he needed to earn his shot. So I'm guessing this is a match to help him earn that and like build up a win, I guess. But speaking of Lex Luger, Tommy Rich is giving Lex a run for his money in this match with the dolls and duels.
Learn from the best. That's what I say.
Yeah.
But there's a little girl in the crowd, poor thing, holding up a Tommy Rich sign. And this poor girl, in about 4 minutes, she's going to make her parents regret buying her those markers and that poster board.
Yeah, I really question sometimes when I'm watching these shows. And obviously I wasn't there at the time, so I don't know who was getting over and who wasn't. But sometimes I'm like, did they pass out signs for just like everybody? Because who made that sign? Like
we will get into that later in this show.
Hell.
There's very, very obvious. Yeah, go on.
That's a thing. Oh man, I was just like joking, but okay. But yeah, like I said, this is just a filler match. Like again, probably to build up Nikita's record so he can go for the title.
Yeah, Nikita Koloff wins this thing in 4 minutes and 7 seconds. Anything else to say about that, or should we just go on?
Really nothing to say.
Okay. Well, Tony Schiavone is in the aisleway and introduces Teddy Long along with his newest acquisition, Johnny B. Bad.
Yes. And okay. I always wear my glasses when I watch TV, and it's not that I can't see. It's just, it clears it up a little bit better. So when Johnny B. Bad and Teddy Long first came out, I wasn't wearing my glasses, and I thought Teddy was wearing like a cheap, long blonde wig with bangs. Like, I was like, what the hell is he wearing? Like a gold dust wig, basically. And I was thinking like, man, he really can't get over the fact that he's bald. But everybody, it was just a gold do-rag. It was not a blonde wig.
Good to know. Everybody can settle down now. We'll get more into Johnny B. Bad when we finally see him in a match. But just note that he was supposed to be a clone of Little Richard, except he's white.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I don't know if this was my TV or what, but I couldn't understand much of this interview. All I got out of it was that they were setting up a match with PN News, which is another horrible WCW gimmick that we will see very soon. And Teddy says that the flamboyant Johnny B. Bad is the only real man in professional wrestling. So great. Yep. Back to JR and Dusty. Dusty says that Johnny B. Bad takes flamboyance over the line. And if it's Dusty saying it, oh, wait, what am I saying? I'm pretty sure Johnny B. Bad was Dusty's idea. So forget about that. Anyway, on to our next match.
Speaking of Dusty's idea, Dustin Rhodes versus Terrence Taylor with
He wasn't my idea, baby. It was all his mama. Anyway.
with Terrence Taylor, who is with Alexandra York and Mr. Hughes. Now,
Yes.
so we last saw these two on Wrestle War 91. And I know I've said this before, but when I see young Dustin, I finally see Dusty in him, and they look so similar.
Yes, yes. And he's wearing a red, white, and blue jacket on his entrance here. So a little bit of Cody in there, too. Just saying.
Maybe his little brother, who was like 6 at the time, was like, you should wear red, white, and blue and get a neck tattoo. I don't know why Cody Rhodes talked like Michael Jackson, but whatever. Terrence Taylor is wearing red again, representing those Rooster roots.
You know, he might want to go back to that, because when he's introduced here, Gary Michael Capetta says that he is accompanied by the York Foundation's newly elected board for Q1 of 1991. And like, I could see a world where this could get over, because like nobody likes corporate types, but this just feels hokey, and being introduced as the computerized man of the 90s did not help.
No, and it doesn't make sense either, because he's not a computerized man. He's a man with, like, I'm not a robot because I have a laptop. You know, like
Right.
I am not computerized. I own one. But maybe in the 90s, they weren't that used to computers. So they're like, oh, he's computerized because
like the computerized man would be like RoboCop. Second RoboCop reference on this show, by the way. How about that?
Oh my God, I loved RoboCop so much. I don't know why you didn't. But
well, not only is Terry brought to the ring by Alexandra York, but as you said, he also has Mr. Hughes. Now, we previously saw Mr. Hughes as Big Cat on the past couple WCW pay-per-views, but now he is in the gimmick that he would keep for the rest of his career.
You know, I think Terry Taylor should just go back to the Rooster. He should go back to the Big Cat. We'll have a whole farm. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, God.
No, I'm very much kidding. But Dustin is very, very over with the crowd. And I feel like it's kind of the first time we've seen that. So, like, good for him.
Yeah, and they said that up to this point, he was undefeated in WCW, which was interesting.
Well, yeah, Dusty, hello. You're not going to beat, is like the whole Dion Shador thing. You're not going to beat Dusty's kid. What are you talking about? But anyway.
The on the door thing? What is that?
Dion and Shador. Like Deion Sanders, the famous football guy, and his son. And it's been a whole thing in the last 2 weeks because of the draft.
We started this saying I don't know anything about football.
But like, even if you don't know football, you know Deion Sanders.
Yes, I know who he is. Yes.
Never mind. Anyway, a lot of folks online think that Dustin's early matches like were kind of awkward since he was a bit like green. But do you think these long career wrestlers cringe when they look back and watch their first matches? Because like I could see Dustin Rhodes now looking back and be like, oh my God, that was so bad.
Oh, absolutely. I look back on stuff I did yesterday and I cringe. I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Same. And I wonder, because so I have never seen my episodes of Ghost Hunters because I cannot watch myself. I will cringe. I will be like, why did you say that? Like, I'm so harsh on myself. So I've never watched myself. So do you think they watch their matches later? Like whether it was 30 years ago or just like this week, do you think wrestlers watch their matches, or are they just like, no, I don't want to see it?
I mean, maybe, but like at the same time, something like this, like it would have to be, I would think, a pretty special occasion to be like, oh, I'm Dustin Rhodes and I'm going to go back and watch my match with Terry Taylor that was less than 10 minutes long. You know, it's like, if it's something epic like the Hell in a Cell, well, Mick and Undertaker have had to watch that 1,000 times because that's all they get asked about anymore.
Well, and Mick probably doesn't have any recollection of that match, so he needs to know what the hell happened.
Right.
Well, Dusty, I think he does do a good job of not showing too much bias for his kid, at least on camera, because like Gorilla shows more favoritism toward Joey Morella than Dusty shows to Dustin, you know? Yeah,
good point. And it must be hard for Dustin too at that time, like 22 years old, having a match with your legendary multiple-time world champion father right there at ringside. That has to be pressure beyond pressure.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Especially
But
when you look like him.
yeah. Well, and similarly, the camera also does a good job of not showing a close up of the computer this time, which is a mistake they made in the past. And we saw it's not even turned on.
We are in the time machine, and I swear they listened to our show and
Yeah.
made an adjustment because we totally called them out on that.
Yeah.
I did love when the ref was distracted by Alexander York. So Dustin counted his own pin over Terrence. He was like he was pinning him, and he was like, "Come on, 1, 2, 3." It was funny.
One day that's gonna work. I don't know when,
One
but
day.
one day it'll work. Yeah.
Mr. Hughes puts on some sort of loaded glove and tries to punch out Dustin, but of course he misses and hits Terrence instead, which leads to Dustin pinning Terrence, which he had already pinned him once. He just counted it himself. So Dustin Rhodes wins the match in 8 minutes and 5 seconds. Did you like it?
You know what? It was fine. It was fine. The whole computer thing's goofy, but I get it. But no, it was a fine match. 2 younger guys. Yeah, sure. Why not? What'd you think?
No, I liked it. And I think Dustin, maybe I'm looking into this way too much, but I feel like his confidence is growing and it's showing. And maybe that's why the crowd's getting more behind him.
Maybe so.
Maybe. Well, next up, JR mentions how they, quote, always tell you to not work with children or animals. And I'm like, children, I get, but animals, nah, you always want to work with animals. I love animals. However, this guy that we're apparently about to see, Big Josh, supposedly has 2 pet bears that he will be bringing to the ring. Like, what is this? A circus? Like, literally.
Well, and it's funny you say that because Big Josh would go on to be the first Doink the Clown. So, yeah, he's a circus guy. Yeah.
Okay, I feel like that's like the 3rd guy you've told me is the first Doink the Clown.
Well, there's about 3 guys who played him. So.
But like, oh my gosh, I swear every week, well, he played Doink. Well, he played Doink. Then, whoa, freaking blast from the past. We see Black Bart entering the arena. And like, I forgot that he's from Pecos, Texas, which is right down the road from Midland. And so I am just so curious why they brought him back out of nowhere. Like, was there a wheel of talent and they just spun it and it landed on him? Like, do you have any insight on that?
I have no idea. I don't know where he had been. I mean, it's not an injury because it's been like a long, long time since we've seen him. He was probably, I want to say he was, that's wrong. I'm thinking of somebody else. He was somewhere else still wrestling. But yeah, I guess this was just his shot to come back.
So like back then, I'm guessing they didn't like just bench talent and pay them kind of how they do today. Like, was it more like his contract ran out, they ended it, he went somewhere else and then they re-signed him? Or was he just kind of a one show at a time type guy from the beginning? And I don't know why I ask you these questions like you should know this, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know like what his specific thing was, but I mean, they certainly it was easier to do shows that weren't with one of the big companies back then because like, you could kind of say, okay, yeah, I'm on WCW TV regularly, but if I want to go to like this NWA place in Georgia, as long as they're cool with it, it's fine. It wasn't so exclusive back then. Unless you're in the WWF, then it was a little bit more exclusive. Yeah.
Well, and there wasn't really the internet back then, so you couldn't find out about it in 2 seconds, Yeah. So maybe that's why. But okay, this next part. What the hell? Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Sure enough, you knew I was going to have a problem with this. You knew it. You were like, oh God, I don't want to hear Michelle rant about this, but whatever. Big Josh, he enters the arena with 2 giant muzzled bears. And I don't know what kind of bear. They look like grizzly bears because they're big old brown bears. I don't know, but they're massive. Yeah. And this is awful. I'm sorry, I'm such an animal lover, but he's leading the bears like with leashes, but instead of leashes, they're like the giant poles. Like, the ones that animal control uses with like rabid dogs where it's like a loop around the neck and a pole. Ugh. But anyway, bears are super cute for what they are. They're walking on their hind legs, so it's kind of funny. But this is the saddest thing I've ever seen, and I hate it because, okay, like Big Josh gets to the ring, and the bear handler comes out and takes them away as soon as he gets to the ring because I'm sure Big Josh had no idea what he was doing. He was just like, here, hold these poles. But even the crowd didn't really react to the Bears, which I would have thought they would have, especially like if they did that today, the crowd would be booing. But
Right.
back then, I would think people would be excited, but they were just kind of like, what the hell? Why are you?
Why does a lumberjack have bears?
That was another question I had. This doesn't even make sense. Get rid of the Bears, Josh. But Dusty says that they flew first class to the event, the Bears. And JR said that flight must have been unbearable to others on it. And I was like, okay, JR, I see you. But the Bears have been taken to the back. I really hope we don't see them again because that was the saddest thing. Muzzled bears with like a metal wire around their neck. Oh, but anyway.
I was going to get you one of those for your birthday, actually.
Well, that's fine. I can use it on the husband. I'm just not going to use it on an animal.
not for him. Not for him. It's a singles. I'm just kidding, by the way.
Oh, God, it just hit me what you were talking about. You dick.
Well, you're going to be a dickhead. Singles match, as we said, Big Josh versus Black Bart. Now, you want to talk about two guys who we have not seen in forever.
Jesus.
Big Josh, we last saw at WrestleMania 1, before there was even a number at the end of it, just WrestleMania, as Matt Bourne, okay? So he's 33 years old here. Black Bart, we have not seen since Starrcade 1985. Both those events were in 1985. We have not seen these guys on pay-per-view in 6 years. He's 43 years old here, and let's get into this one.
Yeah, I mean, I remembered I liked Black Bart's theme song when he came on, like his song, because it reminded me of Hangman Adam Page.
Yeah, that was cool.
This is the first time I've seen the move that's called the log roll, and that's a funny move. Like, I don't even know how to explain it to our listeners. How do you do it? Like,
I think, okay, kids at home, get your brother or sister and lay them on the floor and then stand on them. And then just kind of stamp your feet back and forth and have them roll over while you do it. That's the log roll.
It's like you see it like in cartoons when they're on a log and they start running faster and the logs start. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah. You know, the big burly lumberjack thing had been done before. And honestly, I don't think it's that bad of a gimmick. But like WCW had this way of just like taking it too far. He's like, oh, he doesn't just have he's not just from the backwoods. He carries an axe handle without an axe on it for some damn reason. And he's got bears and he does a move called the log roll. And he was like, calm down. He can just be a guy who's strong from picking up wood.
When you said they took it too far, I was like, oh, you mean muzzled bears?
That too.
But yeah, and honestly, he kind of reminded me more of like the brawny paper towel guy, more so than because it was so corny, right? But yeah, you're right about that with the gimmick thing. And I think in the earlier days of AEW, that was a thing too. Like they would just take something funny would happen and then they just do it over and over. And it was like, okay,
we get it.
Made it not funny anymore. But JR and Dusty mention how Black Bart loves to say "dad gum," which further solidifies that he is indeed from West Texas, because "dad gummit" is still probably our mom's most used phrase to this day. Like, she still says it all the time. And I've never heard anyone outside of this area say it.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? There's like just those regional things that, you're right. I don't hear that a lot outside of there. That's so funny.
Yeah, and our dad just curses, so only our mom says it. It's tough to podcast this particular show because every match is like 3 minutes long. So sorry we don't have much to say specifically about each match. Yeah,
but here's what I found funny before we get to the finish here. So Big Josh ends the match by bouncing off the ropes and sitting on Black Bart's chest for the pin, right?
Yeah.
Once he becomes Doink, he would do the same move, but off the top rope, and it was called the whoopee cushion. So like all I could think about was Big Josh farting on Black Bart. That a Black Bart fart. But Big Josh wins the match here in 3 minutes and 46 seconds.
I'm just still stuck on the whoopee cushion. I'm like, why did they not have a sound cue for that? Like every time he lands, I mean, it was Doink. Like, was it going to be questioned? Not really.
Well, immediately after the match, Paul E. Dangerously, aka Paul Heyman for current fans, comes out as part of the Danger Zone, which is his interview segment. And he has what seems to be a new cowboy gimmick going on. That's right. The New York Jew has a cowboy gimmick, but he's wearing khaki shorts and a pink golf shirt and a black cowboy hat. So basically how the wannabe cowboys dressed when we were in high school in West Texas.
Yes.
You know, I see guys walking around here all the time in cowboy hats and something completely mismatched. And I'm like, did you just break into like your mom's attic and find her old clothes and just start putting them on and you left? Like,
Justin, I just got back in town from visiting you, and when we were sitting outside at that table on like that little quad area, I saw dudes walking that exact thing you just described. And I was like, why is he in a cowboy hat? But he's like dressed like a beach bro. Like it was so weird.
Yeah. And for some reason it's a thing and I don't get it. But Dusty makes a comment that if Paul walked into a bar like that in Texas, they would string him up by his heels. So I guess I got some work to do around here. But Paul grabs a mic, tells the crowd to shut up, but the mic gives out. And it gives out some more. And we can't hear him. And Paul blames the state of Florida and their crappy equipment. And then he introduces Stan Hansen, who is quickly in the ring, so quickly, in fact, that he's stepping through the ropes when his music starts. Yeah. So not sure whose fault that was, but Paul is telling Stan Hansen how much he admires him and tells him that's why he dressed like him. So Stan Hansen, of course, with tobacco hanging out of his mouth, a lot of it, and tobacco juice running down his chest, tells Paul that real cowboys do work. And Paul has never worked a day in his life. So Stan examines Paul's cowboy hat and says, we're from New York City, so it can't be real. Great. By the way, cowboy hats really have no place in the world today, do they? Like, it's part of my culture. Well, if I were a fireman, I wouldn't carry a helmet everywhere. Like, come on.
But anyway, we don't work outside. We hate the outdoors. So maybe if you work outside, it's a thing.
Maybe so. We'll try to give them that much credit. Still looks stupid. Anyway, Stan calls out Dustin Rhodes and tells him to get rid of his father and fight him like a real man. Ooh. Then Stan leaves. That's about it. And Paul continues to gloat over Stan Hansen, saying he's a real fan that fights for his family instead of sitting behind a mic like Dusty. Ooh. Okay. Well, Paul then brings up Ric Flair and Bobby Eaton, but his microphone craps out again. So we don't know what he's saying other than Ric Flair's going to win tonight. And Paul says, I quit this damn job, and slams the mic down. And is like, actually seemed a little bit legitimately pissed off there.
I know. I was like, did he actually quit? Is he going to WWF?
Yeah. But then, boy, we get the dumbest, hokiest, strangest segment possibly in the history of 40 episodes of Wrestle Recap.
Dude, okay. You know, I love this stupid shit. I really questioned if, like, I was by myself when I was watching this, but I really questioned if my dogs slipped drugs into my drink when I was watching this, or was I having a stroke? Because I out loud said, what is happening? Like 5 times.
I was thinking, and I had seen this before. I forgot it was this show. And when the first shot happens, I went, oh no.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no. So let's explain what's happening. There is a castle on the stage, not an actual 3-dimensional castle, a giant backdrop with a castle painted on it like you're in your 3rd grade play, right?
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
And then there's green lights flashing and smoke. And Dusty Rhodes says he's never seen anything like this before. And I've been to a few goat ropings and an all-night fair, brother. But we hear a voice that is unmistakably Kevin Nash.
Oh, yeah.
And he starts telling us what sounds like a bedtime story. Once upon a time in a land far away, there lived a wizard, but not the Wizard of Oz. His name was the Great Wizard, and he ruled the Kingdom of Oz. So wouldn't that be the Wizard of Oz?
Considering what happens next, yes.
Yeah. So then on the entrance ramp, there they are. Dorothy, Scarecrow, Tin Man, Lion. and a person in a wizard's robe with an old man mask that you buy from like Spirit Halloween with a long white beard. It's like a rubber mask.
That wasn't even a Spirit Halloween quality. That is straight up like Family Dollar.
and then he's got a monkey on his shoulder. I was legit sitting there like so weirded out. And then I watch it, I'm like, is that a fucking monkey? the guy in the old man mask is talking, who I believe it was Kevin Sullivan under that mask, but he's in the old man mask and he's talking, but he's wearing the mask, so it's all muffled, so it's very the hat is attacked.
Oh Jesus, it's back! It's back! Oh God!
And he's like telling them, like, come closer. Come closer, we're almost there. So Dorothy and her crew nervously approach the castle, and then there's pyro, and then suddenly in front of the castle, a man has his back to us in front of the castle wearing a lime green robe and like a wizard hat, a pointy thing. As Dorothy and her crew, they run in fear, and we hear Kevin Nash again. I am Oz, great and powerful. That's literally a line from The Wizard of Oz, but you're not the Wizard of Oz, huh? All right, fine.
I seriously, I'm like you when you're like, is that a monkey? I was like talking to the dogs because I thought they had drugged me at this point. And I was like, are y'all seeing this? And like the weird thing was the Tin Man and the Lion and Dorothy, we never really saw their faces. They were just like backlit and it was like a silhouette of them.
Yeah. I don't know what was up with this. So the giant lime snow cone slowly rotates on this turntable that he's standing on, and he's wearing a different old man mask. Yes. So he like slowly starts making his way to the ring, and the other old man mask guy is saying over and over, welcome to Oz, welcome to Oz, welcome to Oz, over and over. And this whole time, Jim and Dusty are talking about how big this person is, completely ignoring the fact that we are seeing the product of what happens when Dusty eats expired deli meat, all right? So they finally get down to the ring. The big wizard takes off his mask, and there's young Kevin Nash, wide-eyed, hair dyed just about as gray as it naturally is today, clearly knowing that tonight could be the end of his career. So with that, and a few shots of whiskey to become more clear-headed, oddly enough, let's go to the match.
Yo, man, we don't even need drugs in this world anymore. Just make people watch that. They'll feel extra... Nah, man, it was weird. That's all I gotta say. Like, it was too weird for even me. And right when it started, I rewound a little bit because I knew Mark was on his way home. I was like, he's gotta watch this with me. Oh, God. But all right, let's talk about our participants in this singles match. So we've got Oz with the Wizard versus Tim Parker. And I was like, isn't that a San Antonio Spur? But I was confusing Tim Duncan and Tony Parker.
From like 10 years ago?
Yes. Yo, that was like the last time they were good and I paid attention. Sad. But all right. So Oz, he last wrestled WCW Halloween Havoc 1990 as the Master Blaster Steel. And it's Kevin Nash, but that match was cut from the Peacock version. So I remember we didn't even get to see his first match because it was cut. But he's 31 on this show, and I am just shocked his career is not over after this. And it's funny, when you mentioned those wide eyes, like it popped back in my head because his eyes were wide open. He looked like Humperdinck over there. But let's talk about the Spur, Tim Parker. So he was born on December 7th, 1963, and he died at the age of 51 just in 2015. So not super old, and he was 27 here, and believe it or not, Justin, the last pay-per-view we will see him wrestle on is this one.
No shit.
Dude, okay. If I was going to just have one match ever, I think I'd pick this one because it's one of those matches that's so weird. People are going to YouTube it for forever.
Right. He's going to have his own like fan club once the internet comes out.
Right. Like I need a documentary on his perspective of this match or something.
Dark Side of the Ring, Tim Parker.
Exactly. They should just do Dark Side of the Ring Oz. And like, it's all about how this came to be, which I do know, but I'll get into that later. Yeah. This Tim Parker, he was also known as Powerhouse Parker, which sounds cooler than Tim, but he was largely used as like a WCW enhancement talent, aka
Mm-hmm.
kind of a jobber, but he
Mm-hmm.
had previously faced Kevin Nash on an episode of WCW Pro in a tag team match when Nash was part of the Master Blasters, which
That's kind of crazy.
that is crazy. And I just don't know what makes you say like, Master Blaster not working. Let's go with the Wizard of Oz. But
Yeah.
Oz's manager, the Wizard, is indeed Kevin Sullivan.
Yes. I thought that Boston accent was slipping through during the "Welcome to Oz."
That was so, I just can't get over how weird it was. But okay, so the whole thing, supposedly Ted Turner had just bought the rights to a bunch of MGM movies. So they wanted to capitalize on it and like be able to use like the likeness and all of that. But like all the movies, why'd you pick that one?
See, and that's funny you say, because I feel like this might have been how that channel Turner Classic Movies got started, was
This
when
match?
Ted Turner got no.
Oh.
When he got all those movies. It might have been before this, and this was just more, but that's where that whole channel came from, was Ted Turner got the rights to all these movies.
Yeah, and then Disney got the rights and they had that really cool MGM Hollywood back tour thing and the Great Movie Ride. And then when they got rid of the partnership with Ted Turner and MGM, that's why the Great Movie Ride went away. And that makes me sad because I love that ride.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Tim Parker here, he looks like Sid Vicious got left in the dryer too long.
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
He's got the curly mullet and he's pretty built, but he's also like next to Kevin Nash. He looks like a kid.
Yeah, he should be to Sid what Dink was to Doink, because we're just going to talk about Doink this entire episode.
It could be Sid and Kid.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. Yes. Yeah. So at least Chris Jericho would shoot fire from his finger when he claimed that he was the wizard. But this wizard with the old man mask, he's doing nothing for me. Nothing.
Yeah, he doesn't have any powers or anything like that. It's dumb.
It is dumb. Well, this is indeed a complete squash match. Oz wins the match in 40 seconds. After a helicopter slam, we get a quick pin. No reaction from the crowd except for one boo. It was like silence, crickets, boo.
and that's just the guy who was mad because they color corrected the movies before they put them on TV. He's like, you don't do that to classic films.
Don't do that. Well, thank God JR didn't talk about where Oz went to college. I mean, where? Munchkin University?
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Jesus. Well, let us move on from this match. I mean, did you like it, Justin? Did you like it?
No, it wasn't worth. I wanted to be anywhere else in my past 43 years than right there on the couch in that moment. But it's funny because after the match, Dusty says, that shows what's to come in World Championship Wrestling, which is like the worst news ever.
How much did they pay Dusty to say that? Because I know he didn't believe it. I mean,
he was really sucking Ted Turner's ass there.
Oh, Jesus. Well, Missy Hyatt is outside of the men's locker room. Jeez, she kills me. She goes, ready, guys? Ready or not? God. Here I come.
Before you know what it strikes me as anytime that she's doing something like this?
What?
Is like when your parents would get out the camcorder when you were a kid. Like, why don't you introduce this thing or put on a little show for the camera or whatever? That's what it seems like.
Totally. I was thinking she sounds like Sandy Cheeks from SpongeBob, the squirrel, that is from Texas. But so she's like, ready or not, here I come, before going in. And she walks in with, oh, Z-Man, oh, Flying Brian, I'm here. And she finds Terrence Taylor and asks him about the situation with Dustin Rhodes. And here he responds, he isn't sure what she is doing in the men's locker room, but that the situation with the Rhodes and the York Foundation is not over. And I'm like, well, darn, but okay. So she keeps kind of wandering around looking for Z-Man, but she sees some cowboy boots and a cowboy hat sitting outside of the shower. And she says she hopes that is not who she thinks it is. So she asks Terrence Taylor, because he should know, if that could possibly be, now I'm talking like her, that could possibly be the Z-Man stuff. And she asks if Z-Man is in the shower. So she gets excited with the idea that she could not only be the first woman to do a locker room interview, but now she gets to do an interview with a wrestler from the shower. Just like that. God, this is where it gets real bad. Stan Hansen, he walks out of the shower in his chonies and he starts yelling at her. And then He grabs her by the back of the neck and bends her over and spanks her with a cowboy hat over and over as he's shoving her into the out of the dressing room. And like, wow. Wow. I'm like, this is the stuff that Vince is like probably getting sued over right now. But Missy is left crying outside of the locker room, and they return to JR and Dusty, who are laughing their heads off at this. Like, it's just the whole thing is cringy. Like the whole thing, and like everything about Missy is cringy. Oh God. Anyway, it's so funny though how a lot of the times when Dusty is talking, the subtitles read indistinct in parentheses. Like even they can't understand him.
Oh boy.
All of that being said, let's get to the next match, please.
Yeah, this is one that could be interesting, at least on paper. It's a taped fist match with Barry Windham versus Flying Brian. So last saw these guys on Wrestle War earlier this year. Here's the thing. Barry Windham is 30 years old here, okay? Flying Brian Pillman is 28. NXT star Lexis King, Brian Pillman's son, is currently 31. 3 years older than Brian Pillman was right here.
I feel like Lexis King looks like such a baby and like way younger than Flying Brian at this point.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I swear we are aging more slowly than the generation before us. I swear. We have like Botox and stuff and skincare. But okay, I'm dumb. Every time I hear about like this taped fist match, I thought it meant it was like pre-filmed. Like it was taped.
Like a fist match that was taped?
Yes. And I have to like
That's funny. Well, somebody in the crowd expected each guy to have his fists taped together, so all they could do was kick. It's gonna be really boring.
Dude, do you know what we just saw in that Wizard of Oz? This is not out of the question at this point. Nothing is out of the question.
It's true.
But there is LaGrange by ZZ Top again with Barry's entrance, because how did they get away with this?
I don't know. How did Barry get away with his haircut?
Oh, yeah.
It's like a blonde helmet. He looks like a Lego figure.
Yes, where you can just pop it off and switch his hair out, of course. But I am glad to see Brian Pillman again, because like I'm surprised he's back so soon. Like that was a massive concussion he got on the last show, and it was really like a couple months ago. Like I feel like concussions now, it's at least like 6 months out, right? Am I wrong on this?
Maybe not that long, but they also didn't consider concussions that serious back then. It was just like, you got your bell rung, get back in there. Whereas now we know, that could like be really bad later in life.
Well, and like maybe concussions weren't, but like that dude like died in the ring basically. Like that was bad. That was a bad concussion.
Yeah. Well, Dusty calls Barry Windham the best in the business today, and he may not be wrong about that. But he also says that there are no rules to this match, which I think would have been good to know before the match started.
Well, it was pre-taped, so.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Well, Flying Brian, he drop kicked Barry off of the top rope, and I thought that was pretty cool. I hadn't seen that before.
Yeah, like from the mat up to the top. That was really cool.
Yeah, I thought that was neat. But isn't it amazing? Just amazing how they both started bleeding at the exact same time after only about 2 minutes in the match.
Yeah, Barry was, I think, pretty discreet about it. Like I never saw anything. But Flying Brian got caught red-handed or red-bladed, or we'll just call him Lion Brian from that.
But my favorite thing JR said, he said, their heads butted like two rams. And I'm like, oh, you're getting a little too Oklahoma for me there, buddy.
Missy Hyatt come back out there? What was that?
Right.
But after a bit of back and forth, Barry Windham hits the superplex off the top for the win, and Barry Windham wins that match in 6 minutes and 8 seconds. It was a short one, especially for kind of a gimmick match, but what'd you think?
I kind of wanted more time. Maybe it's just because I know that Barry Windham and Flying Brian are just like amazing. So I would have liked more time with it, but I liked it for what it was. I would have liked it to be 6 minutes and 48 seconds and not have the Oz match. Right? What do you think?
Right. No, I think this one could have used more time. I think they could have done more with it. Like you said, they're both very good, and this could have been fun. So we'll see where we go from here.
Yeah, well, the match ends, and real quick after the match ends, we go to like commercial on Peacock. But right before the commercial, did you hear that shut up, please, please, please. And then it just goes to commercials. Like, who was that? What was that?
Yeah. That was DDP's headset mic again because he's coming back out. They totally screwed it up again. When you're watching this on Peacock, does it actually show commercials?
Not like the old, it's like current commercials.
See, mine doesn't show commercials at all. It goes to black and then comes back.
It's because I bum off our sisters and she pays for the cheap version.
And
I'm not about to be that bougie where I'm like, I'm going to buy my own because I don't want to watch the commercials. So,
well, DDP is back out. He has another edition of the Diamond Mine, which is his interview segment. He's seated on a chair on the stage with two women who are like rubbing all over him, and it's kind of weird. Probably checking for a knife. Anyway. Kind of odd here as DDP is talking about the World Tag Team title match later, which he has really nothing to do with. And then they go to pre-recorded comments from Sting and Lex Luger. Pretty generic. Nothing really to talk about there. We go back to DDP live, and he says that Sting and Lex Luger aren't big enough stars to come on the Diamond Mine. So he brings out his newest signee, the Diamond Stud, a.k.a. Scott Hall.
Yeah, I was so excited.
What? Well, DDP says that they're looking for a valet to accompany the Diamond Stud to the ring. But what does that valet have to do? Well, that's why the two women are there. They come over and they strip the clothes off of the Diamond Stud, leaving him in his pink trunks. So that's our introduction to the Diamond Stud. Now, I do want to point out here, when Scott Hall jumped from WWF to WCW in 1996, the WWF actually sued WCW for presenting him as his look that he had when he was Razor Ramon in the WWF, completely ignoring the fact that Razor Ramon looked exactly like the Diamond Stud, right down to the little curl of hair in the front and throwing the toothpick at the camera. But when has WWF ever had self-awareness?
Hold up. That's just stupid because... okay, his hair, like, he looks like him. Like, how is he supposed to change his face? Because that's just like his face. And like, look at Cody Rhodes. He didn't change a dang thing coming to WWE. Like, that's just them being petty back then. They're trying to be mad at something.
Yeah, well, and they did the same thing with Kevin Nash, saying that they were trying to make him look like Diesel. And it was like, well, I mean, he's a tall guy with long hair.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go on to a really exciting one. Gather around, kids.
This is the dumbest thing. Like, okay, we said Oz was the dumbest thing. This might be the dumbest thing. I like how my dear friend Mark Gabaldon made me this. It's a little Wednesday doll because we were in Adams Family together, and it happened to make its way to my desk. And now I've been using it the entire show to like put emphasis on things. So I need to put the doll down. I'm just like shaking it at things. But anyway, this is a stretcher match, okay? And it's El Gigante versus Sid Vicious, which love Sid. Excited to see him. We last saw El Gigante on the Great American Bash 1990. So like back then they were like, he's going to be the biggest star, but it's been like a year since we've seen him. And then we saw Sid Vicious at Wrestle War, you know, the whole thing with Brian Pillman. So he is here, and let's get into the match.
Yeah, so keep this in mind, okay? The way to win this match, as announced by Gary Michael Capetta, is to place your opponent on the stretcher. You got that? Place the opponent on the stretcher and you win. Just remember that.
Well, you know, you are rather gigante when the stretcher, you're trying to roll it down the ring with you and the wheels are like not working. So you just pick up the stretcher and carry it down the ramp with you to the ring for the stretcher match. Like that's what he did. That's what El Gigante did.
Those things are heavy too. Yeah. Like he picked up that stretcher as easily as I should have picked up my remote to fast forward through this match.
What do you mean? If you fast forward any, you're going to miss it. But this is possibly the only time ever that you will see Sid Vicious look small in a ring because he looked tiny next to El Gigante.
He looked like that Tim fella earlier.
Oh my God, we can have all three.
Yeah,
yes. Yeah. Well, this again, very short match. Sid gets some good moves in, but it ends with El Gigante doing an iron claw to Sid, and he's like pinning his face and like whole upper body to the ground, and the ref counts 1, 2, 3. But wait, Justin, where is the stretcher? Where's the whole beating your opponent so bad that you have to leave in a stretcher?
I don't know, and it bothered me instantly. Like right when the referee started even counting 1, I was like, why are you counting the pin? That's not how you win. And then the bell rang and I was like, Okay, who is that on? Is that on the referee? Is that on El Gigante? What is happening here?
I mean, El Gigante, I guess won this match in 2 minutes even, but he didn't. And I'm shocked that Dusty and JR didn't comment on it at all.
Yeah,
because they knew
just
it was
moved on
stupid.
past it.
Like, that was so weird. Like,
yeah.
What? I would love to know the story behind that and how that came about, but I'm not even going to ask you what you thought of that match. So Kevin Sullivan and One Man Gang attacked El Gigante immediately after the match. So El Gigante, he kicks their butts and he's really not phased at all. But now the stretcher comes into the play when El Gigante picks up One Man Gang and plops him on the stretcher. And then Kevin Sullivan throws some powder on El Gigante's eyes. We're bringing the powder back, apparently. One Man Gang attacks him with the stretcher and then just kind of runs off. And then El Gigante slowly leaves the arena as we go back to JR and Dusty. And they just introduce our next match. And that's it.
Yeah, that's about it. That's about it. And we should point out, too, that is One Man Gang, who we last saw as Akeem in the WWF. So he's made the jump over to WCW now.
Wasn't he One Man Gang before?
He was.
And then okay, yeah. I thought so. I thought so. I was like, it's been forever since we've seen him, but I was like, no, it really has. So that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. Well, our next match is a steel cage match. Butch Reed with Teddy Long versus Ron Simmons. Last saw these guys on Wrestle War 1991 as a tag team. If you'll remember, these two guys comprised the tag team of Doom. And then they broke up on the last pay-per-view with Ron Simmons becoming a good guy. And they had several matches against each other between the two shows, with Teddy Long interfering every time. So for this match, Teddy Long was placed in a cage above the ring because this is WCW.
I was about to say, Teddy Long, he's put in Jim Cornette's cage. That's Cornette's cage.
Right.
And why do they like this gimmick so much at WCW?
You know, I don't know. And he kept moving around while they were lifting the cage. He was swinging back and forth. I'm like, stop, don't do that. That's terrible.
Yeah. Especially with we saw how things are built during Wrestle War. So, but Butch Reed comes out and his music, he sounds like he's on the runway at a JCPenney fashion show at the mall in 1991. It's like, yeah. That's funny. But they kept talking about the steel cage that these guys are fighting in, but it is literally a chain link fence that bends a lot when you've got two meaty men running into it. It does not look steel at all. That is aluminum foil. I don't know. But I will say the camera guys were really struggling in this match. I don't know if they were new, but we missed some really big moments I felt, because they'd be like, oh my God, on commentary, but we didn't see anything. But also the camera was really shaky the entire match. I guess it's because, they kind of filmed through the holes of the cage and stuff. It was shaky.
Well, they had at least one cameraman in the ring, but he was wedged between the ropes and the cage. Mm-hmm. So it's any movement was making him do the camera all crazy. It sucked.
I needed Dramamine before this match. It was bad.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I don't know that it's a big deal, but Teddy Long doesn't seem to mind the cage.
No.
I kind of miss when Cornette, who is legitimately afraid of heights, would be up there just shitting his pants from being up that high.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't pick up on that, but you're right, because he was up there and he would start jumping and stomping. Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. I know how shoddy that stuff is that they build. But despite my complaints about the production end of this match, it's actually a pretty good match with two meaty men. I'm impressed at the speed they worked at.
Yeah, no, they put on a good match. It's very physical. Ron Simmons was bleeding a little bit from the head and I think from the mouth too. But the finish comes when Teddy Long throws a chain down to the ring. Butch Reed wraps it around his fist and tries to punch Ron Simmons, who ducks it, hits a spine buster for the pin. Ron Simmons defeats his former tag team partner, Butch Reed, in 9 minutes, 39 seconds. That was a pretty good one.
Oh, yeah. To me, it was, I don't know, it was finally the feeling of the pay-per-view is there, just because it was a good match and it had a story behind it. And we have not gotten a lot of that, other than the story being the Wizard of Oz, for this show. So I enjoyed it.
Well, back to JR and Dusty, who mentioned that last match was no disqualification, which again, better for us to know that before we go into the match, isn't it?
Yes.
They now preview the upcoming tag team match between the Steiners and Sting and Lex Luger and toss us to a video package.
Why was this video package so romantic?
Oh my God. Okay.
Romantic.
Okay. So slow, like inspirational music plays, right? And it's a montage of slow motion shots of the Steiners, Lex Luger, and Sting, like in the ring and out. And they're looking, and one of them's waving a flag, and they're high fiving the fans, and very slow motion to very slow music. But then the music picks up, and there's fast-paced action, suplex, and clothesline, and punch. And then the music gets slow again, and it's back to the slow motion shots. All four of these guys are still alive today. Why does this seem like a celebration of life montage?
It really, I think I said that. I think I said this is like a funeral.
Or like celebration of beefy romance love. I don't know. This made Full House look like Citizen Kane. Anyway, with that over, with me being slightly uncomfortable, let's go to the next match.
Please. Oh, God. Okay, so it's the tag team match for the WCW World Tag Team Championship. So it is Lex Luger and Loverboy Sting versus the Steiner brothers, which thank God they're brothers, because otherwise I would assume, and Steiner brothers are our champions going into this match. Yeah. So obviously these are all top guys. We last saw them just on Wrestle War 91. Sting, he comes out and he kind of looks like Coco Beware's parrot. What's his name? Zeke? Frankie. I always call him Zeke. Why do I call him Zeke? But that's what he looked like, because he was very colorful, but not in like his normal neon colors. It was like red and yellow. He freaking looked like a parrot.
Yeah, he kind of did. Kind of Hogan, but like cooler.
Yeah, totally.
But when Luger and Sting like started walking down the aisle, that sparkly pyro was shooting up on either side of the ramp. And I remember thinking, man, they don't have to walk through that, right? Oh, they did. And like they both tried to dodge it as best they could, but it definitely got Luger. He's like brushing his shoulder and probably went, oh! But
they have that issue, because I remember when Sting won the big match, he had to walk through a wall of pyro because he was like, okay. And
yeah, well, remember whenever Goldberg would enter, they had that all over the stage, and he would be standing right in the middle of it. I remember somebody asked him, like, didn't that hurt? And he's like, well, yeah, but I can't sell it,
Yeah, Jesus.
They did show a close-up of the tag team titles here, which still said NWA and not WCW, so oopsie there.
JR says that Rick Steiner has a low center of gravity, and like, good for JR for finding a way to say that Rick's a short king.
That's a very nice way to say it.
Right. And it's hard to explain, but I really love the energy of this match. It's like everyone in the match wants it to be awesome, and they're all putting in 110%, and it's just awesome, like nonstop.
Yeah. The energy, you nailed it. It was the energy behind everybody. And like every time that the momentum of the match changed from one team to the other, the crowd cheered. Like these guys could do no wrong for this crowd, and they amped it up. It was so much fun.
Definitely. It was my favorite on the entire show. But Scott Steiner, man, he's got an epic wedgie, like epic. And like, I don't even know how he can walk, much less wrestle. And like, he's wearing bright pink too. So it's like two big bubblegum bubbles attached to his lower back. It's great.
Maybe that's why his voice was always so squeaky.
Well, he's got to pick that wedgie.
Yeah. Well, later on in his career, he called himself the Big Bad Booty Daddy. So maybe that's why.
That's where it starts. I mean, that thing is round, man. I'm telling you. Nice job, Scott Steiner. But, oh, man, Nikita kind of slinks his way out to the ring with a chain. But Sting, being the amazing bestie that he is, pushes Lex Luger out of the way and takes a hit from Nikita. Oh. And Scott Steiner uses this moment to capitalize, and he pins the temporarily disabled Sting. And so the Steiner brothers win the match and retain their championship in 11 minutes and 9 seconds. But here's my question. Did I get worked? Or did Sting legitimately get busted open? Because I never saw a blade job, and why would he blade at the end of a match?
Yeah, I didn't see it either. In fact, I didn't even realize he was bleeding until like the match was over and they said, "Oh, Sting's bleeding" or whatever. He might have just gotten tagged, you know?
I kind of think he did with that chain or something, because
Yeah.
he was not bleeding up until that chain hit thing.
Yeah.
And again, why? Because Sting's never been one to bleed.
Right.
He's not one of those. And so yeah, I was like, I'm either getting worked, but I think he really did get cut open. Poor Sting.
He might have.
Yeah. So did you like the match? I said it was my favorite on the show.
Yeah, no, I think in ring wise, yeah, this is the best thing that was on the show. It was so much fun. And I could watch more of that.
Yeah, for sure. So Tony Schiavone meets up with Nikita Koloff backstage, and Nikita says that Sting was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And apparently so was Nikita, because Sting attacked him from behind. They continue to fight through backstage area, and they even take it out to the parking lot. And I'm like, have we had a parking lot fight yet? Like, is this our first?
I think it is. I think it is.
How special. Yeah. Nikita grabs a chair outside because, there's folding chairs out there. But like a boss, Sting takes it from him and Nikita just runs away like a little bitch. So are we doing a Nikita versus Sting feud now, not Lex?
It seems like we are moving that way, yes.
Well, we didn't. Okay. JR and Dusty talk a little bit about what just happened before sending us back to Gary Capetta to introduce our next match.
Yeah, we got another title match. It's a singles match for the WCW World Television Championship. Our champion, Arn Anderson versus beautiful Bobby Eaton. Both these guys, 32 years old here. But because of injuries and stuff, we haven't seen Arn Anderson wrestle on pay-per-view since Starrcade 1990. So it's been a little bit. Let's get into this. Bobby Eaton enters, and it's still like a little bit sad to me because he's still using the Midnight Express music, but he's all alone. Mm-hmm. It's just like, oh, because I love the Midnight Express. But on the other end, his tights are like blue and silver, like metallic and shiny. It's like one of those pictures of dolphins in a cove that you buy in the mall in the 90s. You know what I'm talking about?
Justin, I had those in my room with the purple headset.
God. That and the purple headset. Okay, great.
You know that dolphins were my aesthetic and like my entire... they're still my aesthetic. I love marine mammals.
You know what you need to look at? And I'll have to text this to you because there's no way that you will remember this. But there is a whole artwork style from that era called Fruitiger Aero.
What?
Yeah, it's kind of that late 90s, early 2000s way that things were designed like computer programs and that sort of thing. It's like this look that you'll recognize instantly. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm just feeling attacked over my dolphin stuff, and I have the doll back that I'm using. So is there a story behind this feud, or did Bobby just kind of like earn his chance at the belt?
I think the latter. Yeah. I think that there was no like feud, but Bobby, they were trying to make him a singles guy to break him away from that idea of the Midnight Express. Yeah.
Got it.
Much like the last match, Arn still has the NWA TV belt, but he doesn't have a WCW crew shirt on. So net positive, I'm saying here.
Oh man, he doesn't have to help set up the ring. That's how he knows he made it big time. So I don't have much to say about this match. It was technically very good, like good in-ring work, but I think the placement of this match on the card itself was very unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, these are two guys who will make everything look good in the ring. You don't have to worry about that. They got jammed into a tough spot here, and they're in the next to last match, and yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
I feel it should have gone before the Sting Luger Steiner match, and it would have been much better because we kind of would have had like a good match, a really great match. I mean, technically, I think the Steiner match was better than the Ric Flair match coming up, but yeah, it was unfortunate of where it was placed.
Yeah. Well, one funny commentary moment here. We don't talk a lot about those on WCW shows, but JR tells Dusty that they need to get him a telestrator to draw on the screen. And Dusty says, "I'm pointing with my finger, but nothing's happening."
I just thought of this the other day, how like, and I don't know, because I haven't watched the news in forever, how weathermen could like draw and stuff. And I just thought that was so freaking cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In fact, I worked at a TV station one time where they had that ability, but like nobody really used it much. except for like one weatherman, but we went to use it one time during a live newscast.
Oh no.
And somebody had written some expletive on there, like, and never cleared it out of the system, and it went out over the air.
Did someone get fired?
I don't think they ever figured out who did it.
It was probably you. Like how
No,
you
it was
call
not
from
me.
businesses call the wrestling hotline. This is something you're going to admit to all these years later.
That was not me.
Well, just when we think Bobby Eaton is about to take it all, Barry Windham interferes to save his own horsemen. But Brian Pillman comes to the rescue and stops that interference. And therefore, beautiful Bobby still gets his Alabama jam.
That's right. Beautiful Bobby wins the match and the television title in 11 minutes, 50 seconds. We've already kind of talked about what we thought about the match, but bad placement, but good match.
Yes, I agree. And I'm glad that Bobby Eaton got to win something on his own because, like you, I was sad for him losing his friends too.
Yeah. Well, Tony Schiavone is outside of Tatsumi Fujinami's dressing room. Tonight, the controversy ends and we find out who is the true WCW champion. Now, Hiro Matsuda stops briefly to say that tonight they are going to take the belt back to Japan. Back in the arena, 4 Japanese women walk down the aisle with those beautiful Japanese robes. I love those. They're always so cool. Dropping flower petals along the way, which seems like a fire hazard with the pyro and all. I don't know. We almost set Lex Luger on fire. Fujinami enters, and then on the stage, Ric Flair enters, where he is met by a chef, a butler, a maid, and a random blonde. We basically have the plot of Clue right here. And then he puts his Rolex on a silver tray that the maid is holding. And side note, I'm not sure, I believe this is Fifi the maid, who is Ric Flair's most recent wife.
Oh, he's like Donald Trump. He's getting all these wives on WWE and F and WCW.
Yeah. So with all that done, let's go to the main event.
Please, yes. So it is a singles match for both the WCW World Heavyweight Championship and the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Ric Flair, who is our current WCW champion, versus Tatsumi Fujinami, NWA champion, which I'm kind of surprised they're still even mentioning NWA with the whole split and whatnot. But, obviously, we all know who Ric Flair is. But let's talk about Tatsumi Fujinami. Now, he was born December 28th, 1953, and believe it or not, he's still alive and popping at age 71. Good for him. So that made him 37 on this pay-per-view. And the last time we'll see him wrestle on our show is WCW Wrestle War 92. So about a year from here, but he's legend in New Japan, where he was the 6-time IWGP champion. So that's pretty cool. His son also became a wrestler, and at one point he received a tryout with WWE, but I'm guessing it either didn't go well or just didn't go far because we don't know who he is. But this is his most famous American match. In fact, when he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2015, Ric Flair did the induction speech. So so does he like go over to WWF at any point? Like, why was he inducted into the Hall of Fame over there?
No, they at some point started expanding to people who had never been in the WWF, and he was one of them. Okay, well, let's get into the match, but I gotta have some back explanation, some backstory, because we are telling the stories of wrestling throughout the decades. So this is a bit confusing, but back at the WCW New Japan Super Show, Ric Flair was still technically the NWA champion, despite WCW having broken away and like created their new championship, right? So Flair put the title on the line and Tatsumi Fujinami won the championship. But here in the US, fans were led to believe that the NWA championship was part of the WCW championship. Are you still with me? Barely. So in pre-internet era, most fans didn't even know anything had happened. But when it came time to do this pay-per-view, it was promoted here in the US as Ric Flair putting his WCW title on the line against Fujinami, while in Japan, it was promoted as both Flair and Fujinami putting
their titles on the line. Still with me. Okay, so we're almost done. WCW decided to put the focus on not only the WCW championship, but also the American Flair getting revenge on the evil Japanese guy, despite Flair having been a heel for a while now.
Yeah. And I think as we go through this, the confusion was evident.
Yes, I'm still confused, and I watched it.
Yeah.
Well, JR mentioned how Dusty Rhodes won the belt from Harley Race in this very arena in 1979, and I thought that was cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy because that's before we even started, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I like how they brought in a New Japan ref for this match. I'm surprised they did, but I liked it. But they will have an American ref on the outside of the ring. And why? To make sure the ref does his job? What?
Now, wait a minute. You don't see them putting Aubrey Edwards out there while Rick Knox is in the ring. I don't have a Rick Knox joke this week. I was just adding to the conversation.
Dang it. Well, sadly, the crowd really doesn't seem very into this match. Either they're quiet or Ric Flair is being like extra loud in his moaning.
Oh God. He's probably moaning about that new haircut. Like, ooh, I know the feathered mullet was no longer in style, but this parted bowl cut thing, it just ain't it.
Yeah, I just think he looked like a 40-year-old trying to look like a 14-year-old. That's all I see with it. But ouch, Flair dropped Fujinami right on the thin metal pole of the barricade. Like, how does that not hurt? I mean, I know it hurts, but like, how does it not render one incapacitated?
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. But Dusty says, I don't remember if it was that move or not, but Dusty says, that'll take your spine and shift it from your butkus to your neckus.
Oh man, but Flair is so rough. Like, he slapped Fujinami across the face, and I literally saw Fujinami's nose jiggle like when he slapped him. I was like, dang, dude.
All right, well, I got to call BS here. We kind of talked about it earlier, but you're telling me that a bunch of Florida hillbillies all over this crowd brought signs that were printed in Japanese. Nah. Out of here with that.
Yeah. Well,
like I remember when they first were having the Cesaro section was a big thing in WWE, and like one fan brought these signs saying Cesaro section, and then all of a sudden WWE's handing out signs that say Cesaro section just to make it a thing. That's totally what this was.
Oh, totally. And I mean, I guess that one girl got her Tommy Rich sign, but even when the Japanese ladies came out, Mark goes, are they Hispanic? And I like really had to I was like, it would not surprise me at this point in wrestling history. But I like Ric Flair a lot more than I thought I would these days. But the main event, Ric Flair, like, you know, getting busted open, it's just getting a little stale. Like, I feel like the main event is very similar from show to show to show at this point.
What are you talking about? His forehead just got a little itchy and he just scratched a little too hard. That's all it was.
No, because he is terrible about hiding his bleeding. He might as well just be like, everyone look at me, give you a microphone.
Yeah.
I wonder if when Fujinami farts, if he goes, Fuji.
Oh God.
It's been a while. You brought back freaking the mask is attached. The hat is attached. So I can bring back Fuji. Dang it.
Fair.
Yes, but Ric Flair shoves Fujinami into the Japanese in-ring ref, which kind of causes like a collision, and it allows Ric Flair to get the pin. But thank goodness that American ref was right there to count the pin, and Ric Flair wins the match. Surprise, retaining the WCW championship and winning the NWA championship in 18 minutes and 6 seconds, by far the longest match on this show. What do you think of this main event?
It's not that it was a bad match. It wasn't. But when you've got a guy who's been a bad guy for at least a year now, and now you're asking the crowd to cheer for him for no reason other than the other guy's Japanese, the crowd wasn't into it. I mean, they were actively like looking around the arena at other stuff. And just, it was, I'm glad that they closed whatever loop they were trying to close, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's like you said, the match wasn't it wasn't bad in ring or anything at all. I think also having this match back in 91 before the internet, people just didn't really care because they didn't really know Fujiyami. I mean,
Right.
maybe they saw the show that they did over there on TV somehow, but they really didn't know him. And so it was kind of just
Hmm.
like, I don't know, it'd be like Roman Reigns facing someone no one knew at the main event. Like,
Right.
we'd be like, "What? Like, why do we care about this?" But
Right. Yeah.
anyway, JR and Dusty are talking about the chop marks on Fujinami's chest, and they do look gnarly. Like,
Yeah.
it looks pretty bad. But Gary Capetta announces Ric Flair as the winner and the champion. But Rick had already pieced out of the arena a long time ago. So really, it just kind of looks like Gary's rubbing it in Fujinami's face that because he's still in the ring. So
Yeah.
he's just like, and Fujinami he's kind of looking toward the back, like as if like
Right.
he wants more because he thinks Rick cheated. And that was about it. But then Dusty and JR get to talking about Sting and Lex versus the Steiner Brothers match. And Dusty says in 20 years, he hasn't seen such a quality tag team match. And I'm like, that's a pretty good compliment coming from Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, because he's seen a lot of them.
Yeah, and they talk about the Freebirds will be good champions, and Dusty still wants to know who is Fantasia. And I think that anyway, I'll get into that with my final thoughts. But I need WCW to stop with these masked characters only to be revealed in disappointment.
Yeah.
They show some recaps from the main event, and they say that Ric Flair has great challenges ahead of him. And JR plugs the upcoming Great American Bash before telling us so long. And that is the show. Brother, can I please have your final thoughts on this show?
Um, this did not feel like a pay-per-view to me.
Yeah.
Just because there were so many inconsequential matches in the middle, plus the Oz thing, and it was just kind of it felt like a TV show with some extra title matches. Overall, it's not like it was a horrible show, but it's just dragged down by the main event that didn't really mean much, by the Oz thing, by the stretcher match finishing how it's not supposed to finish. So I don't know. I didn't hate it, but it seemed like a very inconsequential show.
Yeah, you're right on that. And really at this point, I think like with pay-per-views today, everything kind of has something special about it, but between like Wrestle War, Bunkhouse Stampede, Super Brawl, like it's all kind of the same. Like, what's special about it? Like they're all kind of. I feel like they're doing too many pay-per-views that are too similar, and when it is, like doesn't really matter matches, it kind of brings the whole product down, in my opinion. But this show, it wasn't hard to watch, especially because I was just laughing a lot of the time. So I was entertained. I will say that.
Yeah, one way or the other.
I also like the pacing of this show because after, WrestleMania 7, that just seemed to drag and drag with all of those backstage interviews. So I didn't hate it. It's a forgettable show. Like, I think you asked me about the show in 2 years, I'm gonna be like, hang on, what? I remember the Steiners, like what?
Right.
So yeah, but let's get into what happened after the pay-per-view. So Bobby Eaton would only hold the television championship for a couple of weeks before losing it at a WCW TV taping. Sad.
Oh, poor Bobby.
Poor Bobby. Well, the feud between Barry Windham and Brian Pillman led to a loser leaves town match where Barry Windham came out on top. However, a masked wrestler named Yellow Dog soon made his debut and appeared to be a heck of a lot like Brian Pillman. Why are they so obsessed? Like I just said up there on our notes that I am tired of these masked characters, and here we are.
Yeah.
This was Butch Reed's last match with WCW as he would leave the company soon after this show.
Yeah.
Crazy, just because he was such a big deal with Doom, and then goodbye. But this was also the last WCW match for now for Sid Vicious.
No.
And finally, man, we need the Undertaker theme song again. This was Ric Flair's final WCW match for now.
Yeah.
He would leave the company due to a pay dispute, but here's where it gets kind of interesting. So Flair still had the WCW championship belt in his possession. And since he believed that WCW still owed him money, he kept the belt. And spoiler alert, he started wearing it on WWF television, claiming himself to be the real world champion.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. And that would later be revisited with CM Punk. And, I mean, it kind of became a classic story of wrestling, but
yeah,
that's about what goes on. So yeah, before we talk about what we're doing next week, I'm gonna do the Wrestle Stats thing in the correct order this time. So hey Justin, you want to help me with some
Wrestle Stats?
That's right. It's like a little bell goes off in my head. I hear that sound cue and I just start spitting out stats. So this is the final pay-per-view appearance in a match for two guys who we saw on the show. Of course, Tim Parker, who faced off against Oz, leaves us with a record of 0-1-0. But this is the final time that we not only see Butch Reed in WCW, but at all. He leaves us with a record of 6 wins, 8 losses, and 2 draws. Adios to Butch Reed.
Well, dang. Okay.
Yeah. Rematch percentage is down this week to 6.18%, and title match percentage is up to 30.90%. The match breakdown here updated. We have watched 349 men's matches, 6 women's matches, and 1 mixed match. If you like all those stats, you got to go to WrestleStats.com because that's where you get modern day stats. AEW, WWE, all your favorites, rematches, title matches, wins, losses, everything. WrestleStats.com for free. Sign up there today. And while you're on your little device there, go talk to Michelle.
Yeah, hit me up at Wrestle Recap on all the social medias. I prefer X Twitter just because I get the best notifications and I'm on that thing like 10 times a day. If you want to talk about the show or anything, or if you just don't like Justin and you want to talk to me, it is at Michelle Tater. And if you follow me there, you're probably going to see a lot of funny memes, a lot of football news, a lot of wrestling stuff. I find myself braver on my own page when I'm like tweeting out like a controversial like wrestling take because I don't want to affect Wrestle Recap in this show. So I'm like, I'm going to take the heat myself.
You need a disclaimer on there. This does not reflect the views of Wrestle Recap.
AKA, this doesn't reflect the views of Justin, just me.
Yeah.
But brother, what show are we doing next week?
Brother, we're sticking with WCW for Great American Bash 1991. Several different gimmick matches here. Paul E. Dangerously steps back into the ring, and we get the pay-per-view debut of a man who would later in his career be described as Stone Cold.
Does he drive an ATV to the ring?
Stop.